joining us. I'm Peter Dubois.
And I'm Beth Jones. First tonight, 2 Republican lawmakers were censured today for comments made on the House floor late Wednesday night. Those comments were made during a debate over a bill that would protect medical professionals who provide certain types of care.
Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard has details.
Around 10:30 Wednesday night, the House was discussing LD 227, a shield law that would protect medical professionals from out-of-state prosecution for abortion and transgender care that they provide. The 3-hour debate got pretty heated, but one part the members say crossed the line was when Representative Michael Lemlin, a Republican from Chelsea, said that the reason the Lewiston mass shooting occurred was because the House passed LD 6019 last year, which expanded abortion care.
Keep in mind that the law came into effect on October 25th. God heard you. And the horrible events on October 25th happened.
Those are just part of the comments that were ruled out of order by House Speaker Rachel Talbot Ross. Only one person spoke up to agree with Representative Lemlin's comments, Representative Shelley Rudnicki.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to stand and say that I agree with Representative Lemlin and everything he said. Thank you.
Speaker Talbot Ross began Thursday's session by officially calling for a censure of Representatives Lemlin and Rudnicki, which passed unanimously.
The House, having voted a censure upon you, I now pronounce the same to be a publicly recorded act, and so entered upon the journal of this House. You will resume your seat. The Sergeant at Arms will escort the representative from Fairfield and the representative from Chelsea back to their seats.
We caught up with a few House members to get their thoughts on the initial comments and the censure of 2 of their colleagues.
My thoughts are, my concern right now is with the families of the victims from the shooting.
It's unfortunate. I don't support those comments, and that's not the God I know.
Just all I say is reprehensible and not fitting of this body.
I love and respect my colleagues.
It speaks for itself, and I think the matter is resolved, and we'll move on.
As part of their censure, Representatives Lemlin and Rudnicki both had to issue public apologies to House members and members of the public.
I publicly apologize to my colleagues in the House, the people connected to the horrible events of October 25th and the state of Maine. Thank you.
I accept full responsibility for my remarks on the House floor on the evening of April 10th. I publicly apologize to my colleagues in the House, the people connected to the horrible events of October 25th, and to the state of Maine.
We tried to speak to other members, including Representatives Lemlin and Rudnicki, but they declined to comment. At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, the commission investigating the Lewiston mass shooting held its 8th public hearing today. Commission members heard from victims, ASL interpreters, medical examiners, and from the Army Reserve Company commander of Robert Card. Captain Jeremy Reamer answered questions about whether he thinks he underplayed the risk Card posed and why he didn't do more to get Card treatment.
So I think what would have been helpful would have been being a little bit more forward regarding his medical, like finding out his medical and the follow-up stuff, being a little bit more forward regarding that.
Well, the commission is scheduled to hold at least one more public meeting before releasing its final report by May 1st.
In other news, Maine State Police are investigating a murder-suicide in Minot. Police say early this morning the Androscoggin County Sheriff's Office was called to 425 Millette Road in Minot for a welfare check around 6 a.m. and located the bodies of 2 deceased people. The Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit was called in, and the two bodies were transported to the office of Chief Medical Examiner in Augusta, where autopsies were conducted. The victim was identified as 19-year-old Emily Salee of Lewiston, and the manner of her death was deemed homicide. The second person was identified as 20-year-old Tyson Peters of Minot, who died as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police say Salee and Peters were in a relationship at the time. No further information is being released at this time.
And police are investigating a crash that left one person dead and another person injured. It happened a little before 1 o'clock this afternoon on Route 1 in Steuben. A state police spokesperson says 36-year-old Nicholas Libby of Addison was traveling east on Route 1 when his vehicle crossed the center line and struck a Subaru Forester being operated by 51-year-old David Worcester of Lemoyne. Worcester died at the scene. Libby was transported to Northern Light EMMC to be treated for serious injuries. That crash is still under investigation.
Earlier this week, the USPS announced it will consolidate its Hamden mail facility. The move follows a months-long operations review and has been broadly met with disapproval from members of the public and elected officials. We spoke with Senator Susan Collins this morning, and she maintains the planned consolidation will cause nothing but delayed delivery times and frustration for Mainers.
I was absolutely stunned that the Postal Service was going to proceed with such an ill-advised plan. It's not only going to decrease service and delay delivery times for hundreds of thousands of people in Maine potentially, but it's also not in the Postal Service interest, because what will happen is it will lose more and more customers.
Senator Collins also says the decreased reliability will force customers to seek alternative methods of delivery like the United Parcel Service and Federal Express, therefore causing a loss of business for USPS. Going forward, Collins says she plans to create a coalition of senators to refute the consolidation in hopes that the Postmaster General will abandon that plan.
Well, police say a group of juveniles are back at it again in Rockland, allegedly causing disturbances. Brad Rogers looks at the crimes they're allegedly committing and why police say their hands are tied.
Police say these latest disturbances here in Rockland are caused by the same group of 4 teenage boys, kids who have no parental supervision and no control.
Some of it is a cry for help. Some of it is just boredom.
Rockland police say this same group of teens keeps causing trouble no matter how many times they catch them.
They're verbally challenging, some of the business owners going into the stores and kind of causing a scene.
Police Chief Tim Carroll says they were caught on surveillance video breaking into a downtown business. One even wore a mask into a bar.
Juvenile was masked and kind of alluded to having a weapon.
That can elicit a response that can be very dangerous to not only the citizens but also that juvenile.
Downtown business owners tell us these same teens vandalize their buildings.
They usually come back out back of the shop and spray paint it, and we have a camera back there that's caught them a couple of times. Man, they're just troubled youth. I feel like they're just trying to find attention. They're not getting it at home, and it's really unfortunate.
Rockland police work with a number of teens in its youth mentorship program and have even gotten through to a number of kids who used to cause disturbances here.
We're really proud of the work we have done with the juvenile population, and we've had a lot of success.
Yet some teens know they can do whatever they want without any consequences. Police no longer have the option of sending them to Long Creek Youth Development Center for misdemeanor crimes.
And I'm not saying that we need to lock the kids up, but we need some sort of formal interaction with these kids.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting.
All right. Well, a dreary day once again, really all over the region, hearing from friends in southern Maine who are sort of seeing the same conditions as well. So it's just kind of been a soggy week.
It really has been. It started off strong with the eclipse, just a beautiful day for that.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
was a gift.
We're paying for it now.
Yeah, not even really paying for it. Just, it is what it is. It's spring. It's weather is unreliable this time of year, no matter what you do. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get a first check of our forecast and see what the rest of our evening is looking like.
All right, thank you very much. Look at us. High temperatures only in the 40s area-wide today, but warmer temperatures are in the 5-day forecast, so hold on. But first, also, some rain showers. Rain showers are out there now. This is going to all fill in tonight as well, so look for pockets of heavy rain showers tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. In fact, lingering into probably Saturday night or early parts of Sunday morning. Wind will become a thing as well, gusting now around 13 miles per hour. It's going to pick up tomorrow throughout the day. We could see wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour, thus a wind advisory in here and also coastal advisories as well. Again, those winds tomorrow near 50 to 60 miles per hour in a few spots, especially in down east areas. Our forecast then for tonight, though, is clouding over, of course, some rain showers out there, locally heavy rainfall towards sunrise with low temperatures in the 40s. Your full forecast is coming up.
All right.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10. Tick season is fast approaching. We'll hear from experts about the best ways to protect yourself.
And a local church known for giving back could use some help of its own. We'll have those stories and more local news when we come right back.
Your musical journey just got a brand new beat. Sticks, Picks, and Strings Music has relocated to a new home at 158 Main Road in Eddington. That's right, Maine's biggest little music store is still your ultimate destination for all things musical. SPS Music, where the music continues.
Transform your surroundings with Paramount Paving, located in Bangor. They are your paving and seal coating experts. Whether it's residential maintenance to full commercial projects, Paramount Paving delivers quality that lasts. Book before June 1st and enjoy a $250 Visa gift card upon completion of your next paving project. Call us today at 602-8931 or visit us at ParamountPavingLLC.com. Paramount Paving, setting the standard for excellence. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount. Refine, your local expert in window and door installation, carpentry repairs, and commercial facilities management. At Refine, we're proud to offer Maine-made Paradigm windows crafted with care and precision to ensure quality and durability like no other. From quaint cottages to bustling businesses, let us refine your space with our signature Maine-made touch. Trust Refine to exceed your expectations every time. Contact us today and let Maine craftsmanship elevate your home or business. Rise with Refine.
Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Van Sickle Kia, just received over 4 truckloads of new Kias with more arriving daily. Choose from the award-winning Kia Telluride, Sportage, Sorento, EV6, and the all-new EV9. Whether you're looking for gas engine, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or fully electric, Van Sickle Kia has something for everyone. Choose from a great selection of award-winning Kia vehicles, all with America's best warranty, 10 years or 100,000 miles, only at Van Sickle Kia.
The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. I'm Peter Van Sickle. I guarantee it.
The baddest superstars on the planet are unleashed in prime time. From the heavens! All new Friday Night SmackDown at 8/7 Central on Fox.
Your musical journey just got a brand new beat. Sticks, Picks, and Strings Music has relocated to a new home at 158 Main Road in Eddington. That's right, Maine's biggest little music store is still your ultimate destination for all things musical. SPS Music, where the music continues.
Hello, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine, we'll have the latest from one of a series of meetings regarding the Lewiston mass shooting and how it was able to happen. Plus, we'll hear from Senator Susan Collins about the consolidation of the Hamden Postal Facility, which is causing a lot of controversy. These stories and much more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Welcome back. The Maine CDC is reminding people to take precautions against tick bites this season following a warm winter that allowed those ticks to stay active. Our David Ledford has more.
Ticks are going to be out. They're going to be looking for a meal.
Tick season has started ramping up, but those pesky parasites have stayed busy throughout the winter. Experts say that's because deer ticks can be active anytime the temperature is above freezing.
Which is abnormal for Maine since we usually have a decent snow cover that kind of keeps those guys down. So if anybody came across ticks on their dogs this winter and thought it was weird, that's why.
And experts say that could mean an increase in the number of ticks that are out and biting during the spring and summer.
We don't always know what our tick season is going to look like until we're in the middle of it. We may see a smaller bump in adult ticks this spring, but that may or may not mean that we have lots of nymphal ticks that come out. So those are the teenage stage of the tick.
According to the Maine CDC, it largely depends on the weather this summer.
If we have a really dry summer this year, we could see lower numbers of ticks versus some other years. If we have a really wet summer, we may see the opposite.
Which means the time to prepare is now.
Anytime you go out into your backyard, you are in tick habitat for the most part. Every single day is a good day to take steps to prevent tick bites. You want to wear clothes that can protect your skin, keep those ticks away from you, wear your insect repellent, and then do a really good tick check when you come back.
Visit our website for links to tick resources. In Bangor, David Ledford, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
In other news, discussions have resumed between the Winslow Town Council and Kennebec Valley Community Action Program over converting the former Winslow Junior High School building into affordable housing. The plan would create roughly 44 affordable housing units and an office space for town officials to access. This would create a new partnership between the town and KVCAP. KVCAP would be solely responsible for purchasing and renovating the building. The organization's director of real estate development, David Pelton, says talks of this plan actually started in 2020, but they were tabled due to the pandemic. The council voted down a similar proposal in 2021 and even considered demolishing the building at one point.
I have regular conversations with the chambers of commerce, with local business owners, with just folks that are in and around the area, and housing is almost always near the top of the conversation.
Pelton says the building has issues they'd need to address, including upgrading the inside and figuring out what to do with the auditorium in the middle of the school. He also says the town is currently weighing its options and has not yet made a decision. Pelton mentions that this remains an active conversation, though, and it's in its early stages, with next steps likely taking place in the next 2 months.
Members of a local church are trying to help their community one meal and clothing item at a time, but they're in need of more support themselves in order to keep their mission alive. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
For over a century, the Brick Church has sat along Union Street in Bangor. But step inside and you'll find more than your traditional Sunday service.
We are much more than a church. We offer showers and we offer clothes to the people that don't have any, all free of charge. We have lunches, we have dinners every day.
Their service, also known as Biker Church USA, began as a way to reach bikers, but over the years has expanded to meet the needs of the community.
We not only help the homeless, we help the working poor and the people that are less fortunate.
But without more financial support, they say that could all come to a stop.
We don't have the funds to do it all.
They operate a small store inside the church where they offer free clothing and more. They say they are constantly in need of donations in order to keep the store stocked.
Anything that you would use on your body, we're in need of.
I got to get a special hanger for that.
During the winter, the church also serves as a warming shelter.
Yeah, it's needed. It probably saved some people's life this winter, more than likely.
Those who rely on the church say it's making a huge impact.
I come up here and made a bigger family than the one I got.
They hope to continue being a resource to the community for as long as they can.
I don't know how we've done it, but we've kept it going and we're determined to keep it going.
To learn about ways to help, visit foxbangor.com. In Bangor, Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, President Biden introduces a new rule to close the so-called gun show loophole. We'll explain.
And a boost in funding has led to a breakthrough in treatment for children diagnosed with brain cancer. We'll have those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
These days you can buy a new mattress anywhere. However, getting the right mattress at the right price will keep you up at night. When you're ready for a new mattress, come to Dorsey's. We've delivered more mattresses to this area than any other retailer. With over 48 years of experience, the largest in-stock selection, plus our 30-night sleep guarantee, we've got the right mattress for you at a great price. Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A, Holden. Sleep well, my friends.
So, all of us are here to talk about trading. Right now at US Cellular, you can get a new phone without having to trade in your old one.
Trade you my PB&J for that phone.
No, kid, you don't have to trade. See? $830 off any phone at US Cellular. No trade-in needed.
You drive a hard bargain. Boom. Chocolate milk.
You don't have to trade.
I'll take the chocolate milk.
Okay.
Get $830 off any phone. No trade-in needed with any unlimited data plan.
A new deck is a great, affordable way to improve your home or camp. Hammond Lumber Company can help you create the perfect deck for your outdoor space. Visit Hammond's product showroom and explore their extensive range of decking and railing options. Your Hammond sales rep will be happy to help you with your materials and design choices, and Hammond delivers from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Make this the year you enjoy that new deck you've always wanted. It starts when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
There's electricity in the air at your New England Ford dealers, your electric vehicle headquarters, where you'll find the exciting Ford Lightning, the only EV that can say it's a Ford F-150, and the super quick Ford Mustang Mach-E with storage in the front and the back, along with a whole host of high-tech features. These EVs are in stock and ready for immediate delivery. The future is here, and its name is Ford. Now get 0% APR for 72 months plus $3,000 bonus cash, or lease for $399 a month for 36 months.
We believe in the 2-minute drill, goal line stands, toe taps, strip sacks. We believe in beer snakes, the giddy up, and whatever this guy's doing. We believe in speed and power, hustle and grit, and that nothing is more dangerous than a man with a dream.
A star is born in the UFL.
We believe in football, the United Football League, on Fox.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
Battled House Speaker Mike Johnson is opening up about tomorrow's meeting and news conference with former President Trump. It comes as GOP lawmakers remain divided over aid to Ukraine and salvaging the FISA bill. Fox's Chad Pergram is on Capitol Hill.
House Speaker Mike Johnson hoping an appearance with former President Trump casts him a lifeline. Johnson's job could be in jeopardy as he's stymied by his own party on two major issues.
Can you think you can help us get something on Ukraine or also on the FISA bill?
We have a lot of things to discuss, talk to him frequently, so looking forward to seeing him in person.
The former president and Johnson will tout a bill focused on preventing illegal immigrants from voting. Mr. Trump just undercut Johnson's FISA reform bill this week, even though he signed a renewal of the controversial program into law in 2018. Democrats believe the former president paralyzes the speaker.
The extreme MAGA Republicans are taking orders from their puppet master down in Mar-a-Lago.
Conservatives blasted Johnson's original FISA reform plan for not going far enough.
Did Johnson step in this by putting this on the floor, trying to go this route?
Yeah, I think he made a big mistake. That creates a lot of bad faith.
Subject to a call.
Johnson planned a Ukraine bill for next week, but nothing's ready.
Speaker Johnson needs to put his foot down.
Could that cost him his job?
If I were in his shoes, I'd be willing to risk my job for the security of our country.
Marjorie Taylor Greene threatened to oust the speaker if he aids Ukraine, but an unlikely ally could salvage Johnson.
That I believe that there are a reasonable number of Democrats who would not want to see the speaker fall as a result of doing the right thing.
The House is hoping to vote on a FISA extension before Johnson sees Mr. Trump on Friday. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Well, events overseas have U.S. intelligence officials growing more concerned there could be a terrorist attack on American soil. This afternoon, the head of the FBI warned lawmakers in Washington while also advocating for a larger budget. Fox's Rebecca Castor reports.
A deadly attack on concertgoers in Russia last month, and the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas has the FBI concerned there could be copycat attacks on U.S. soil.
I would be hard-pressed to think of a time where so many threats to our public safety and national security were so elevated all at once.
FBI Director Christopher Wray laid out the increased threats to lawmakers Thursday, while also asking for a larger budget for 2025.
This is by no means a time to let up or dial back.
Wray also urged lawmakers to reauthorize Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Law, or FISA, which allows the government to spy on foreigners overseas without a warrant. Officials say it's helped law enforcement stop terrorists, But some lawmakers say it can be used to illegally monitor Americans and are calling for reforms.
We have seen major abuses. Americans have been spied on.
Former President Donald Trump told Republicans to, quote, kill FISA, saying the FBI used it to spy on his campaign. Now GOP leadership is scrambling to find a way to keep Section 702 alive before it expires on April 19th.
The idea that we would let this critical component of our security regime lapse would be the height of irresponsibility.
Donald Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson will meet tomorrow in Florida and make an announcement on election integrity. But a path forward for FISA and Section 702 is likely to come up. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
The Biden administration announced a new rule which closes the so-called gun show loophole. Democrats are celebrating the move, but it will likely face a court challenge. Fox's Connor Hansen has more.
Today is a big day for America for common sense gun safety reform.
A new rule proposed under the Biden-Harris administration will require thousands of dealers who sell guns at gun shows or online to be licensed with the ATF. That means they'll have to run background checks on buyers, just like regular brick-and-mortar gun stores.
Today's new action furthers the Biden-Harris administration's historic efforts to stop the illegal flow of guns and hold those who supply firearms used in crime accountable.
The rule stems from a sweeping bipartisan gun law signed in 2022 after the mass school shooting in Uvalde, Texas.
It will show parents, kids, and teachers and Americans everywhere impacted by gun violence that Congress is listening.
But some Republicans who helped pass that law say this new rule goes too far and are already trying to block it.
Shame on the ATF, shame on the Biden administration, shame on the administrators of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act for playing political games.
The rule will likely be challenged in court by pro-Second Amendment groups. It does have exceptions for people reselling a gun to a family member or selling off their personal collection. According to the ATF, guns sold through unlicensed dealers were used in nearly 370 shootings between 2017 and 2021. The White House is also calling on Congress to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Well, switching gears now, a bit of hope for families whose children have been diagnosed with the most common form of brain cancer. There's been a breakthrough thanks to the fundraising efforts of a determined father and the doctors at Children's National Medical Center. It could save lives and avoid the terrible side effects of the current treatment. Fox's Jennifer Griffin reports.
Simply the worst thing that a father or mother can hear.
Federico Goldstein was just 9 years old when he was first diagnosed with a life-altering brain tumor. Until the discovery, he lived a healthy life in Brazil, loved to read. His father, Fernando, says he read every Agatha Christie novel.
It's very sad to see a kid suffering from cancer, particularly because they have the whole life ahead of them.
Medulloblastoma is the most common form of brain cancer in children. 500 new cases are diagnosed in the U.S. each year. The current treatment, developed in the 80s, leaves kids with lifelong cognitive and developmental problems.
Technology and medicine have evolved tremendously in the last decades, but unfortunately not for kids with brain tumors.
Federico is now 17. When he relapsed, his father teamed up with a leading children's brain tumor specialist in the U.S., and the Medulloblastoma Initiative was born.
It sometimes took between 10 and 15 years to go from a discovery to a new treatment to proving that the treatment is better.
Raising more than $10 million in just over 2 years, they are now on the verge of 2 clinical trials. Every dollar raised contributes to the research behind a cure.
We know that we have a long way ahead of us, and we still need more support and more people helping us to help all of these kids.
Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
And we'll take every bit of hope when it comes to childhood cancer.
Absolutely. So some great news there. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, Walmart is introducing autonomous robots to help boost production at its warehouses.
And in sports, hear from Bradley Nadeau as he makes the transition from Maine hockey to the pros. We'll be right back.
Saturdays,
Baseball's best are showing out. The biggest games on the best day of the week. Fox Saturday Baseball. All season long.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Are your gutters weighed down by debris causing them to sag and overflow? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. Clogged gutters lead to costly repairs for your home, so skip the cleaning and stop the clogs with Gutter Shutter. Gutter Shutter, the world's best gutter, is a high-performance gutter with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Stop the clutter, get Gutter Shutter. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Dear Savvy Traveler, airline food isn't what it used to be. I need to fuel up before I fly.
Dear Hangry, you can fill up before takeoff at Bangor International Airport. The Highlands Cafe has quick and casual. The Refueler Pub and Grill has heartier fare. And the Post Security Cafe, other side of TSA, offers a pick-me-up before wheels up. Bon appetit and bon voyage, Hangry. And remember, the savvy travel through Bangor International Airport. Flybangor.com.
At the Toyota Spring Savings Event, great selection means lots of great savings deals. College students and recent grads could get a $500 rebate over and above most other offers. See your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
When is my allergy spray gonna kick in?
You need Astapro.
Astapro?
It's faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase.
It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro!
It's faster, bro.
It's mom to you.
Astapro starts working in 30 minutes. Astapro and go.
Brackish River Bistro, an American restaurant sharing the Winterport Winery and Penobscot Bay Brewery building in the heart of Winterport. We have an incredible breakfast menu running until noon, brunch specials lasting until 3 p.m., happy hour on Wednesday and Thursday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Plus, we're open nightly for dinner and drinks. Take the drive to Winterport and taste what the Brackish River Bistro is all about. 279 South Main Street, Winterport. We look forward to seeing you.
Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
O.J. Simpson died on Wednesday after his battle with cancer. Fox's Greg Wolf has more on the former superstar who ran to fame on the football field, movies, and television before being acquitted of killing his former wife and her friend in a murder trial that captivated the nation.
O.J. Simpson had it all. There have been few football players so dominant at their position. He was one of the game's greatest running backs. Simpson parlayed such stardom into a successful acting career. His fame and fortune extended far beyond his 11-year pro career. His fall from grace began in June 1994. Simpson was charged with double murder for the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, resulting in a colorful trial that captivated the nation.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder.
While cleared of murder charges in criminal court, Simpson was found guilty in a civil trial and ordered to pay $33.5 million in punitive and compensatory damages to the Brown and Goldman families. Simpson was free, but ultimately did himself in to land behind bars. In 2008, Simpson was found guilty of armed robbery and kidnapping after he and a group of men broke into a Las Vegas hotel room and took sports memorabilia that Simpson claimed belonged to him. That incident marked the final fall from grace for the man born Orenthal James Simpson on July 9, 1947. Nicknamed the Juice because of his initials, Simpson was a superstar at the University of Southern California. He led the nation in rushing twice and won the 1968 Heisman Trophy as a senior. In 1969, Simpson became the #1 overall draft pick of the Buffalo Bills. During the '73 season, Simpson rushed for 2,003 yards to become the only back to cross the 2,000-yard threshold in a 14-game season, and was named NFL Player of the Year. His football career ended in 1979. Simpson was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1985, where his bust remains to this day because the organization only considers a player's on-field achievements.
Walmart says autonomous robots in its warehouses are almost doubling the output of regular employees. Fox's Ashley Weber reports.
This is an AMR, or Autonomous Mobile Robot, and thanks to AI programming, it can precisely unload and store a truckload of goods in record time. These robots can unload, repack, and ship out 560,000 cases a day, almost double the amount regular employees can produce. The items are separated by a machine, they're sorted by a machine, and evaluated by a machine. So what about the humans?
For our associates, it has actually made them more productive, and it has evolved their labor-intensive jobs into high-skilled, tech-focused jobs.
So while the humans supervise, an array of mechanical arms, scoops and sensors twist and turn in precise movements. The robot machines process the packages by size, weight, even content, meaning for safety, items like baby food will not be placed next to items like laundry detergent, and all of it controlled by algorithms. Those algorithms also control storage carts that zoom around a dark labyrinth highway in the warehouse. These mechanical arms are programmed to assemble the perfect pallet of goods, which they do with mesmerizing accuracy. Even the shipment labels are AI generated down to the exact store and aisle number it's destined for. Walmart says AI is not replacing workers. In fact, the employees are learning new tech skills while the robots do all the hard work. In Brooksville, Florida, I'm Ashley Webster for the Fox Business Network.
The iconic Nintendo Game Boy turns 35 this week, with plenty of folks still gravitating to Tetris on the old green and gray screen. In this edition of Fox on Games, we'll take a look at the Game Boy's enduring popularity and staying power, even in the face of new gaming innovation. Here's Fox's Eamon Dignam.
It's been 35 years since the original launch of the biggest, most famous, and arguably most important piece of portable gaming history, the Nintendo Game Boy. Banking off the success of both the traditional Nintendo Entertainment System and the portable Tiger LCD games, Nintendo built the first combo of both. The green and gray screen coming to life as kids played Super Mario Land, Tetris, and Dr. Mario for the first time without being attached to the TV. The Game Boy's influence continues today with new iterations bringing a double screen, color, the Nintendo Switch, and handheld computers like the Steam Deck. I spoke to Adam First from Retrospect, which repairs and resells vintage refurbished Game Boys, about how important this piece of equipment is.
What Nintendo did and did really well is they kept it simple, they kept it affordable, durable, it had a really long battery life of about 15 hours of gameplay, and then they had the variety of games.
But of course, the most important question is why so many people go back to this older device, despite newer advances in gaming.
We prefer the earlier stuff. It's also where our passion is, more on the early late 80s, early 90s original Game Boy, and it's fun to be a part of the original legacy as well, the first of its kind.
Nintendo tells us they have no plans to celebrate Game Boy's birthday this year, but if you want to play some of those classic games, they're available on their online service. For more stories like this, check out the Fox on Tech, Fox on Games podcast every weekend. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Yeah, I think that was my first gaming device. Picked it up at a swap shop at at our local transfer station with Pokemon Yellow inside of it. So,
all right.
Yeah, it brings back some fond memories for me.
Yeah, my first was Atari.
That's awesome.
And I used to square off with my uncle Jim on a regular basis. He always beat me at River Raid no matter how hard I tried. I also loved pole position, and of course, the Pac-Man games were great, absolute classic.
Yep.
But I remember watching my mom slay on Pac-Man.
That's
she had
awesome.
a gift.
That is awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, when we come back, our full 5-day forecast. Stay tuned.
Cooler temperatures out there today with highs back in the 40s, but hold on, warmer air is on the way. But first, a lot of rain and wind. More on that when I come back.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
Healing Hands Massage in Hamden provides professional massage services tailored specifically for our clients' needs. Healing Hands Massage offers a variety of different massage techniques and services, including but not limited to hot stone, sports, cupping, and prenatal massages. Looking for a day of relaxation? Healing Hands Massage offers outstanding packages at reasonable rates. Whether you're looking for relief from chronic pain and stiffness or just want to treat yourself to a day of relaxation, Healing Hands Massage is the place for you.
Planet Oats so creamy and not watery like.
Exactly, and unsweetened has 0 grams of sugar.
And don't forget, it's an excellent source of calcium. Wow, Planet Oat really has it all.
You guys are so right.
No, you are.
No, you are.
No, you are. Yeah, you are.
Great Scott! This is Green Bear 420 in 2010. What kind of trip is this? I gotta get back to 2023. Wait, it's 2015. So much has changed. In 2023, we had a lot more glass, t-shirts, and novelties. It's gonna take a bolt of lightning to get me home. Finally, home at last. Now Green Bear 420, Green Bear Green Care is bigger and better than ever. To be continued.
Is this the start of a dynasty? A redemption tour? A breakthrough? Or is this the makings of the wildest ride you'll ever witness? Any questions?
Here we go, another heavy weather system across the area once again with rain and wind tonight through tomorrow into Saturday evening with locally heavy rainfall and a lot of wind. Those wind gusts near 50 miles per hour tomorrow afternoon. All right, some rain showers are out there now. This is not the main event yet. That comes through tomorrow into tomorrow night with heavy rain potentially across the area again. As this much bigger system is in the area, there will be several breaks tomorrow as well, so several hours where nothing is falling, but overall, it will begin to fill in tomorrow afternoon as this whole thing is kind of moving in our direction. Lots of energy, lots of moisture ties still to the tropics with this system. So thus a lot of moisture is headed our way. And it's not the only player in town either. Here's another one. This comes our way early next week with more rain and potentially wind as well. Here's the first one though. So for tonight, looking at rain showers out there. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the morning, looking at scattered rain showers across the region. And then by midday-ish tomorrow, we're talking potentially moderate to heavy rain showers across our area that will linger into tomorrow evening and then begin to clear out late tomorrow night, more so early parts of Saturday. And then on the back side of this system, as it pulls away, we'll get some more light rain showers on Saturday and likely lingering into early parts of Sunday morning before it all gets out of here. We get a break in the action Monday, followed by some more rain showers Monday night. Okay, so this is going to be a soaking rainfall once again. We do not need the rainfall at all. But here comes a widespread 1 to 2 inch rainfall across our region. It's already out there now, likely lingering into Saturday evening. Okay, so the wind's going to be an issue as well. But first, the snowfall forecast. I put it in here because there could be a couple flurries later on Sunday for Millinocket area. Most of us will see no snow at all from the system. We will see some wind, though. Wind gusts near 50 miles per hour throughout the day tomorrow. Right now, it's out of the east around 5 in Millinocket, 13 here in Bangor. It's going to pick up tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. Again, wind gusts, down east areas could see wind gusts of 50 miles per hour tomorrow into tomorrow evening. And that's going to probably bring down some trees and likely giving us some power concerns as well with the wet soil out there across our area. And then finally dying down for us on Sunday into Monday. But already here is our advisories, our posted wind advisories for tomorrow too, for winds up here approaching 50 miles per hour tomorrow and wave heights approaching about 18 feet just offshore. Okay, temperatures of course are critical. Bangor Bangor today, 46. Bar Harbor, 43. Millinocket, 43. That's not normal. The average temperature is near 50. All of us were below that across the area for today. All right, scattered rain showers out there for tonight. Look for low temperatures down near 43 and a southeast breeze around 10 to 25. For tomorrow, rain and wind. That wind could be strong. The rain could be heavy. High temperatures near 56 with that gusty south wind. And then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows that rain and wind tomorrow. Some rain showers on Saturday, high of 56. Sunday, we dry out, 56 as well. Partly cloudy skies. A couple of rain showers early on Monday. A break in the action Tuesday before our big system likely gets in here Wednesday into Thursday of next week.
All righty, Jeff, thank you so much.
Yeah, so some very consistent temperatures, and
Yeah.
it's good to see that sun in the back end of our forecast
Absolutely, yeah.
there. All right, well, sports is coming right up next. Stay with us.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
Our biggest challenge? Uncertainty. Hidden fees, surcharges, who knows what to expect.
Turn shipping to your advantage
Keep it simple with clear upfront pricing.
with USPS Ground Advantage.
Hello, Ghostbusters! It's Doug. We help people customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. We've got a bit of a situation. Sure, I can hold.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
In theaters now.
Tired of your internet service constantly letting you down? Those other providers may promise the world with their flashy advertisements, but are you truly having a good customer experience? Fear not, because there's a new player in town. Introducing GoNet Speed. No more endless hold times or automated responses. We're here to listen, support, and provide you with the exceptional service you deserve. Our fast, reliable fiber internet, it's mind-blowing. Let us show you what true internet satisfaction feels like.
Staying healthy is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Eat healthy foods. 2. Get moving with daily exercise. And 3. Keep up to date on your vaccines. From childhood through your senior year, staying current will protect you from viruses currently circulating across the country that could be dangerous, like measles, hepatitis, and meningitis. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist to learn the right ones for you, because hearing the facts matters. Go to cdc.gov. A message from the Maine CDC, this station, and the Maine Association of Broadcasters.
Tonight's Sports is brought to you by Engstrom's Auto Service in Guilford. We specialize in all foreign and domestic service and alignments.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start on the ice here with Maine hockey. Earlier in the week, Maine freshman forward Bradley Nadeau signing a 3-year contract with the Carolina Hurricanes, ending his Black Bear career after one terrific season in Orono.
After the season, I got a call, and then it was up to me to make a decision if I wanted to come back or stay, and I think it was better for me to kind of improve as a player, being around better players.
Bradley Nadeau is trading in his blue and white for some red and black.
You got to move on in hockey if you want to accomplish your dreams and play wherever you want to play. So I think it was the best for me.
Nadeau was selected 30th overall in the 2023 NHL draft by the Carolina Hurricanes before coming to Maine and being the first-round pick since 1999 to suit up as a Black Bear.
He's a great player. He's coachable. He's competitive. His ability and his his work ethic and his attitude is outstanding.
Nadeau shined almost immediately. Playing alongside his brother Josh, Bradley led all Black Bears with 46 points. Josh, right behind him, with 45.
Okay, it was definitely a fun period. It was special to get to play with him at high-level hockey like that, and I'm really grateful I got to experience that with him.
Together, they were a huge piece in bringing Maine hockey back to the Hockey East semifinals and the NCAA tournament for the first time in over a decade.
Yeah, I think with the team we had, we had a chance to play in the top 16 tournament there at the end, make it semifinals, which, the further you go, the better teams you play, which kind of helped me play against good players, and I think it really helped me. The team we had was special, so just getting to practice with them every day obviously also helped me get to where I am today.
The fact that Maine had such a special group this year made his decision to jump to the NHL that much harder.
Yeah, it's obviously a tough decision. I mean, it's like your family after 1 year like that. I mean, every team you're on, take it as a family, and obviously it was tough, but I'm happy I got to play 1 year with all of them.
All right, wishing him luck in the NHL. Let's move on now. Maine Celtics in action out west for Game 2 of the G League Finals. If they win, it's over. If they lose, we're back in Maine on Monday night. First quarter is where we'll start. Maine down 5. DJ Stewart draws the D in, kicks to Jordan Walsh, who steps into a 3 and drains it. Starting the second now, sees down 11. Usman Dang, nice move to get some space, and he buries the jumper. Sees down still in the second, but Walsh comes up big with a steal here. He's going to get it up ahead to Stewart, and Stewart is going to finish through traffic and the foul. That cuts the lead to single digits. Maine trailed by 9 at the half. To the fourth, trying to mount a comeback. J.D. Davison out to Joe Wiskamp. He nails a 3. It's now a 6-point game. Trying to make it a 1-possession game now. Davison to Walsh to Drew Peterson. His 3 is short. The Blue take it the other way, and Lindy Waters finishes the break. He had 27 points. We have a Game 3. Maine loses 99-89. Staying on the basketball court now, just with the Boston Celtics. News coming out on Wednesday that Celtics point guard Drew Holiday is staying in Boston. Holiday signing a 4-year, $135 million extension, his agent announced on Wednesday night. In doing so, he declines a $37 million plus option for next season, basically taking a pay cut to stay in Boston. That also keeps the Celtics under the salary cap for next season. In his first year in Boston, Holiday is averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and he says the decision to stay a Celtic wasn't hard at all.
Since I came here and kind of the situation, how I got here, it's only been love. So the city of Boston, not only them, but the organization made it super easy for us to kind of navigate. We love this organization, the players in it, and what they stand for, doing our best to try to get this another banner. I'm just excited. I'm excited to be here and to move forward.
All right, let's close it out with some high school sports. The spring regular season finally underway on Thursday. We'll head over to a rainy Cameron Stadium for a boys lacrosse matchup between Bangor and John Baptist. Rain pouring down, and so did the points in this one. We're going to kick it off in the first quarter. Bangor up 2-0 off of the Jason Kim pass. Baptist Winslow Knoll with a perfectly placed ball that finds the net. It is now just a 1-goal game. Later on, Bangor's Richie Trott from behind the net finds Marc-Andre Perron, and he bounces that one in to make it 3-1. Let's go to the second quarter. Baptist threatening. Dylan Davis on the run, and his shot is going to sneak its way through. That makes it 3-2. Crusaders staying close. And then it's Trott again from behind the net. His pass finds Riley Thomas, and he goes underhand with the goal. That makes it 4-2. Rams would get hot late. They win it 12-5. All right, good to have spring sports back. And that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
I really love the welding program here. It's one of the few welding programs on the East Coast.
These days you can buy a new mattress anywhere. However, getting the right mattress at the right price will keep you up at night. When you're ready for a new mattress, come to Dorsey's. We've delivered more mattresses to this area than any other retailer. With over 48 years of experience, the largest in-stock selection, plus our 30-night sleep guarantee, we've got the right mattress for you at a great price. Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A, Holden. Sleep well, my friends.
It was one thing when my mom got Alzheimer's, but then we started noticing things that seemed off. She developed agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Sometimes she'd fidget with her fingers, get suddenly overwhelmed, and even throw things. And that was just never her. So we asked our doctor what else we could do.
Rexulti is the only FDA-approved medication proven to reduce agitation symptoms that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Rexulti can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, increased cholesterol, low white blood cells, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Rexulti helped reduce my mom's symptoms.
Take action for your loved one. Ask their doctor about Rexulti.
Hey, Red Sox fans, you've got to play You Pick'em Red Sox at foxbangor.com. Local weekly winners receive prizes from Chase's Family Restaurant and Hideaway Lounge or from Chick-fil-A. Register now at foxbangor.com. You Pick'em Red Sox is sponsored by Blind Faith Tattoo, Bangor, K&M Auto, Holden, Old Town Redemption Center, and Twin City Tile Brewer.
I've learned a lot of stuff, structural welding, pipe welding. That's given me all the tools that I didn't have before.
Welcome back. An organization that helps provide meals for seniors in our area is getting some much needed assistance. Versant Power donated $10,000 to the Eastern Area Agency on Aging's Meals on Wheels campaign. Officials from the agency say their yearly campaign took on new urgency this year after they were forced to start a wait list for newly qualified residents in Penobscot, Piscataquis, Washington, and Hancock counties. They say the need for a wait list comes because of the increase in food prices and government funding stalling while the demand continues to rise. Director of Nutrition Chris Street says, quote, "With our program now operating with a wait list, every donation helps give more people the nutrition they so desperately need," end quote.
Well, finally tonight, there are some signs of spring in Acadia National Park, particularly the Park Loop Road, which is opening to vehicles on April 15th. The carriage roads will open to pedestrians that same day, but due to icy conditions, the Cadillac Summit Road will still be closed. Park officials say it will reopen as soon as weather conditions allow. Sections of the park were heavily damaged because of multiple storms over the winter. However, park officials say the majority of seasonal openings will not be affected, and they do encourage visitors to exercise caution while the National Park Service continues to assess the damage throughout Acadia. But certainly great news there. You know, you just look forward so much to maybe taking that first ride around the Park Loop Road and getting a look at things. It's just, it rejuvenates the spirit.
Yeah, there's just so much to see around Acadia National Park. It's so expansive, and you know, I myself want to go explore so many different areas that I haven't had the chance to see yet.
Yeah.
But you know, it's good that they're exercising caution, especially with all the rain we've been getting lately. So if people are hitting the trails, you know, it's good to keep that in mind, as things could still be a little slippery.
Yeah, I think folks sometimes don't realize that even though things may be looking, you know, better superficially, the conditions are a little, it might take a little bit longer to evolve in Acadia National Park. And so you got to go in there realizing that, you know, you may not be quite prepared, and that you need to, you know, have the right gear, the right footwear, extra layers, all the things.
Yeah, but some great news there nonetheless.
Fantastic news right there. All righty, well, that is going to do it for us, folks, from everyone here at Fox 22 News. Take care. We hope you have a great rest of your night.
Good night, everyone.